part of the Muskogee Military Park where the USS Batfish resides. And it's got some monuments here to some Rough Riders there. Torpedo there. Some naval guns there. There's anti-aircraft guns. And a monument talking about this park. Here's the USS Batfish, which is in Muskogee, Oklahoma, of all places. It has the distinction of being of sinking 3 Imperial Japanese ships in a 76-hour period. So pretty impressive. It's the first submarine to have the name, the Batfish, which is named for a fish that I think goes pretty deep off the coast of Peru. So there you have it there. And in 2019, they shut it down from people being able to get on top of it. So if you want to visit this, you can come take a look at it, but you can't get on it. Here's a better view of the Batfish. Amazing what you find on a family road trip. The game that features the USS Batfish is Silent Victory, U.S. Submarines in the Pacific, 1941 to 1945, put out by GMT Games and designed by Gregory M. Smith. You might know Mr. Smith from his other designs. He's done a lot of solitaire type designs. He's done them for GMT, he's done them for Compass. And a lot of his designs have a similar feature, what I like to call, or what I call, is charty solos. You know, they're solo games that feature, referencing a lot of charts, or rolling dice, making decisions, and referencing the chart. So let's get into this box here a little bit and see what we have inside. Ooh, and it's a little bit windy today. So this is a patrol log, and you keep track of, it's kind of like a campaign game. You're going to keep track of your patrols, your target, what you've sunk as far as tonnage, and any kind of notes you have on there. Keep track of your patrols and ships sunk, and then you also keep track of the dates. You can kind of do this as a career mode or campaign mode, as you might as you continue on with the game, unless of course you get sunk. And you have a whole pad of these in here. That's just something that I was working on. You've got your rules of play. They seem a little weighty at 28 page, but they're really not. You have an index here. This is really just kind of going through all the different charts. It's triple column, looks a little dense, but there are images in here and talks about how to play the game. Again, this is more of a procedural game, like a lot of solitaire games are. And if you just follow you're really just following this kind of a sequence of play and the charts, making decisions and rolling dice on those. So the rules, even at 28 pages, is not that much. I mean, once you kind of get through it and go through one gameplay or a couple of rounds, you're going to know, how to play this game, or how to play a lot in this series. There's other games in this series. This deals with the Pacific. There's a couple that deal with the Atlantic, I believe, maybe even a third one coming out. And I believe there's also the Japanese side of this, where you're a Japanese sub as well, I believe. And then, of course, there are the air version of these. Compass does a lot of those, which lets you put you in the cockpit of a German fighter, and I think there's some other ones of those coming out as well. You have your Submarine Combat Mat. This is when you get to combat and picking out what your targets are and whether they have an escort or air attack or the like. And this gives you your sequence of play for combat themselves, for the combat itself. These are for the campaigns. As you're taking on different campaigns and moving through progressing on this chart and going out and figuring out where you're going to be, doing your missions. This is, the different campaigns that you can do. You've got the North Pacific and South Pacific campaigns. Actually, there's a third one here that deals with the South Pacific as well. So you've got a lot of different campaigns. And then, the heart of this game is, of course, its charts, which you have numerous charts here. And this is where you're going to determine your patrol assignment, where you're going to start at, and of course what year you're starting out at. And then you've got different escorts and do evasive and all kinds of different charts that you're going to go on. There's random events, different patrol assignments for depending upon where you're starting at, your aircraft encounters. Here's your encounter chart depending on what kind of, where you're at and what missions. Again, a lot of dice rolling. There are decisions in this game, but based on the sequence of play, it gets a little sequential, a little charty. As here's your damage charts as you go through this. So if you don't like rolling a lot of dice and making limited decisions, then maybe these aren't your game. But these are really kind of more of a narrative game. You're kind of making your own story as you go, based on how you roll and what decisions you make based on that. That's really where this game is at. It's really in the narrative, kind of making up a narrative here. It's almost like a war game RPG in that regard. Here's the different tonnage and the freighters, of different ships that you are attacking, and you keep track of that. And of course, you can run into capital ships, and that could be, that could actually, they could actually attack you. Their destroyers and the like might go after you. And then their warship targets. So there's all kinds of different targets that you get, because that's basically what you're out there. You're out there doing patrols, targeting either Japanese transports or their capital ships. Then you have your submarine, your different submarines that you can pick. And here's the Balao-class. So this is the Batfish that we're looking at there. This is the USS Batfish, or it can be the USS Batfish because it was a Balao-class. And this is where you keep track. You have a counter here to keep track of your patrols, where you're at, whether China Sea, Midway, etc. You keep track of your engines and motors and the status there, your crew status, miscellaneous type features of your submarine, your torpedo tubes, which are very, very important, and then your hull and flooding damage. The more hull damage you can get sunk, or if you get flooding, then you're going to have to surface. I mean, you could have an issue there. So you got to keep track of your damage as well. Plus, you keep track of your ranks and awards and your crew quality and random events and everything up here. So this is basically your dashboard for your submarine as you play the game. And then, of course, you're referring to a lot of charts. And then, of course, you can use these patrol logs to keep track of ships you've sunk and damage and the like there. You also get counters that keep track of things, and there's actually your dice, and then you actually have cards here that you can play different captains or commanders, and they have different special abilities. Here's a Balao-class right there that you can refer to in the game. Try to see if there's anybody who was the commander of the. Don't see it if you have the commander of the Batfish there. But the Batfish was unique in that it sunk 3 Japanese subs in a 76-hour period. So that's a pretty effective tour there for the Batfish. So there's the Balao-class. There's the Batfish that you can actually play in this game, and that is an overview or exploration of Silent Victory. And here's a 3-inch 50 caliber deck gun, anti-aircraft gun. And here's a memorial of U.S. submarine veterans of World War II. It was built by U.S. submarine veterans of World War II. It's got some tonnage listings there, the patrols and number of patrols and ships and tons credited. which is kind of very reminiscent of the game. Last long view of it here. So this is Kilroy from the road. Thanks for watching.